All right, let's get more on this now from Bob Ayers. He is an international security analyst and joins us from Somerset in the UK. Thank you for joining us on the program. So Trump, again, contradicting his own intelligence agencies by suggesting the coronavirus originated in a Chinese laboratory, even saying he has seen evidence of this. If his own intelligence agencies are saying that this virus likely had natural origins, where else would Trump have gotten or seen this supposed evidence?
Um, it's not evidence until it can be proven to be true. Uh, where he could have got it, God only knows. And in order to understand the significance of what the intelligence community statement has just been made represents, is you first have to understand how the intel community works. In the United States, there is not one intelligence agency. There are multiple organizations with an intelligence component. The CIA, the DIA, the NSA, Army, Navy, Air Force, the state, they all have intelligence organizations. And when they are asked to provide an estimate to the president on a topic, in this case, for example, did the Chinese originate this intentionally or did it originate in a lab? The agencies all get together and they provide a report to the president. And most of the time, the report will say something like, and I'm going to use a silly example to illustrate the point. The CIA, the NSA, the DIA, and the Army and the Navy all believe that the world is round. However, the Air Force believes it's flat. And that's what goes to the president. The president sees that there is dissent within the intelligence community, and then he can make a judgment as to which organization or group of organizations he wants to believe. In a case like we were just seeing now, where the director of national intelligence says the intelligence community, that means all of us, say there's no evidence. That means all of the 50, 60, 70, 80,000 people that work in intelligence in the United States, none of them found any evidence that it originated in the Wuhan labs. So when the president declares he's got evidence, he may have a rumor, he may have wishful thinking, but he doesn't have intelligence to that effect.
It is remarkable. Thank you for explaining to us how the U.S. intelligence operates there. Have we seen anything like this before? I mean, has a president ever had cause to disagree with his own intelligence agencies?
You have to go back in history to see that. One of the things that happened during the Second World War is the State Department, the intelligence organization within the State Department, was receiving information from the ambassador to the court of St. James, the ambassador to London. And the ambassador at the time was Joe Kennedy. And Kennedy reported back to the president that the Germans were going to conquer the British were going to lose the war, and the U.S. should not support the United Kingdom. Well, President Roosevelt dispatched one of his own trusted agents to the UK to do an independent analysis of what was going on. And the independent agent came back and said the Brits are going to stick it out and survive. So the president then ignored the intelligence coming from the State Department. He trusted one of his own sources. However, since 1947, there's been a Central Intelligence Agency and a more formal intel structure in the United States. It is very, very problematic for any president to ignore the considered opinion of the intel community because there's no credible alternative to the judgments.
This isn't the first time, though, that Trump has gone against his own U.S. intelligence agencies. Why does he continue to do this? Is this a way of him distracting from his own handling of the coronavirus pandemic back home?
Well, you have to look at each of the cases. One of the cases of Trump ignoring the intel community had to do with whether or not the Russians interfered with or influenced his election to the presidency. Trump ignored the intel community, saying that the Russians interfered and tried to influence the election. And he did that not because he didn't trust the intel community, but because he didn't want to have anything that may attach to the legitimacy or illegitimacy of his presidential election. So rather than comply and agree with the intel community that said the Russians did it, he would much prefer to say the Russians didn't do it, it didn't happen, therefore I'm still a legitimate president. So that was a politically driven process. The process we're seeing right now is also a politically driven process. Trump is very aware of the fact that the public perception of his handling of the coronavirus epidemic in the United States has been substandard. He has not been credible to the Americans. His reactions have not been credible to the Americans. And Trump has at last realized that no amount of talking and waving his hands around is going to convince people otherwise. So his solution is not to acknowledge he made a mistake or not to say he's going to correct it. His solution is to find another problem to deflect attention to find another source of this problem so that he is no longer considered guilty for not handling it well. So what you're seeing is a misdirection by the president of the United States. He's trying to find someone else to blame for his own shortfalls. He's trying to find something to direct attention elsewhere. And based on the amount of media coverage over the last 24 hours, he's being very successful in doing that.
All right, well, we're going to leave it there. Bob Ayers joining us from Somerset in the United Kingdom. Thank you.